Hey guys, what's going on? It's the NRL Fanatic coming at you with NRL Supercoach, round number 8 from round number 7. We had a pretty good week, 1,169. I didn't want to say because I thought that'd be a little bit promiscuous, but we actually did score 1,169. Unfortunately, we dropped about 10,000 ranks. A couple of key players across the paddock that we don't have. That's a bit of an offset for us that we've chosen to go a different for compared to a large part of the audience out there has absolutely killed our team in some ways. And in this video, we'll be talking about some of those offset players, what to do in the 5'8 spot, Jack Wighton specifically, how are things tracking along, players that I'm looking at for State of Origin cover, because we're only a couple of weeks out from round number 13. It's important to start thinking about those possibilities now. So, yeah, let's crack off this video straight into the players that did extremely well this week. And as you can see, for Talatau absolutely killed it. He was a player that we were kind of off a couple of weeks ago when he kind of broke out in the scene purely because I didn't like the idea of filling in a second row position with a centre. However, hindsight is a great thing. He's absolutely killing it. It's reminding me, and I know a lot of you guys who have been with Supercoach or Fantasy for a long time would remember Conrad Hurrell. He had a couple of outbreak seasons at centre. He was just that tackle-busting, try-scoring nugget machine that no one could stop. After a while, however, let me just bring the microphone in a little bit closer to make it sound quality better. After a while, coaches started to realise what was going on with Conrad Hurrell. He didn't they just started manning up on him a little bit more. The half would have to cover a little bit more with the centre, and you'd have a lot more 2-on-1 tackles. They'd start swapping specific centres over on Teamless Tuesday to ensure the better defensive centre would cover that. And Morgan Harper got absolutely found out. Now, there have been reports, and I've seen a lot of other people say, well, it's not just Morgan Harper, it was his outside man, and he's also inside man defensively. Possibly true, but the reality is, it was Talatau's playground in the first half, and he was up on about 150 points, and ended up scoring 10 or 15 points in the second half. And that's one of the major deterrents why I kind of move away, filling in one of my second row positions with a centre, is for the fact of, is it likely that he's going to score 150 points each half? Absolutely not. It was a bit of a freak half. We haven't seen anything like that in a long time. Defensively, they were on shambles. He was running through. He scored 2 easy tries. He set another 2 up. He was heavily involved. They were just looking to get him the ball while Morgan Harper was exposed in that first half. And what we saw in the second half was a little bit more of a reality kick, I like to put it. Now, I don't like centres for that very reason, is that they can have an absolute brilliant game and then the next game can be very quiet. However, in Talatau's story or narrative, he's been killing it for a few games now. He's been averaging, as you can see, over the last 3 games, 112 points. Absolutely killed it. Hindsight, anyone that's owned him, you've benefited greatly. Now the question is, do we want to go against that thinking now, seeing as though his break-even is negative 51 points? So he is bound to make money. He's now 700 grand. He's bound to make more money. I'm going to say no. Look, sometimes with these things, you have to die on the sword that you're kind of spreading the message of. And for me, I'm not comfortable to say that he's going to break 100 points each week. The reality is, he's the most traded in player. No-brainer. Will make money. My question to those people are, to the 11,899 that are only jumping on him now, what happens if he gets a 20 next week? Do you hold on to him the following week? Or are you looking to just make that 50k now and do a quick trade out? I mean, a lot of this depends on where your team is specifically at, how comfortable you are with your guns. Do you think Talatau is going to remain gun status? And if you do, trade him in, by all means. For me, I'm not 100% comfortable with that idea. Yes, it could be easy money, but the reality is, if he does crack, another 70, 80 point game, and he goes up by that 100 grand, he's going to be 800 grand. The fall that he possibly has back down to 500 grand is a reality. Will he hold the center spot? I would expect that he does. There's been chats, and I know a few of you have asked me, do I expect him to hold the spot? I would say yes. I mean, why would you trade him out? Why would you put him back on the bench and just have him in rotation with your second rows if he's playing like that at center? He's obviously fit enough to be able to do it. We'll have to see how he goes against some of the more beastier teams. I'd love to see him marked against someone who's a bit more defensively orientated, like a Gagai. But look, we'll see how that rolls out. For me, it's not a trade-in. If we look at all the trades in this week, we're seeing Talakai. We know Nathan Cleary. We spoke about him last week. He made 50 grand. We knew that was going to happen. It's been suspicious this whole time. He scored 158, second highest scorer. Didn't even score a try. He's likely to get a try. I said this last week, in the next 3 weeks. So we've got 2 more weeks. I reckon he's going to score a try. I think he's going to be bound to continually score those high scores. Easy captain's choice. If you're looking at Talakai and you're like, I can captain him. He might have another outbreak. I don't know. I don't know if he's got another game like that in him for the rest of the season. I don't think he'll break another 120-point game this year. I'm just going to put it out there. Hold me to it. Hold me accountable. But a couple of the key players that we just didn't have that a lot of people seem to have had. Xavier Coates had that breakout game. Look, the Melbourne players' scores were inflated simply because it was tries galore. You don't win by 60 points or score 70 points and not have a lot of players absolutely rock the scores. Look at that. Munster, Hughes. I'm sure if I scroll a bit further down, there's going to be Harry Grant did well. Expect that from Harry Grant anyway. But there was a couple of players that did really well that we just don't have. And Nico Hines is another one where that position is absolutely killing me this year. The fact that a lot of you guys out there have him, about 50%, made the right decision. You've got him. He's doing phenomenally well. I just can't jump on these guys midway. Sorry, I've just got a lump in my throat. But, that's not to say we won't bounce back. It's not to say some of our players, if we look at our squad, what went wrong for us? Josh Curran got injured. He scored 32. Jack Bird, suspected broken arm. Who knows what's happening with that? He's been named. Is he actually injured? Is he not? He scored 21. Obviously, I had him in my team when he played. I've just moved him to the bench now. Jack Wighton, 15. Lowest scoring 5'8" in the top 10 owned 5'8". So that's going to be a talking point. We had a few players that did exceptionally well. David Fifita went to center for an experiment. It just didn't work. He ended up scoring 42. 42 is still not bad, given that he went to center. But it's kind of crazy. So the first thing I want to talk about is Jack Wighton. What am I doing? We've said this since week 1, is that the hardest position to fill for, in my opinion, is the 5'8" position. And you could easily plug that hole at the start of the season by bringing in Cameron Munster if you thought he was going to be worth the dollar that he was on. In fact, he was. He's overvalued now. He's gone up. He's killing it for the 31% owners out there. For everyone else, it's been a bit of a struggle fest. I mean, I don't think many people had Thomas Dearden to begin with, and he's killed it. And I think 8.2% owners now is only a reality after he started to go up. Dylan Brown at 13%. Again, an amalgamation of scores brought his ownership up. I believe it was only at 6% at the season kickoff. But he's killing it. Dylan Brown's having his best season. He still scored 77 even though he went to the centres. The reality is, with Jake Arthur coming into that role and their team dire on the backline stocks, maybe a bit more permanent than what we'd like to see it as a Parramatta fan. I think, the fact that he scored 77 was more of an opportunity of the fact that they played a woeful defensive Newcastle, and He just got a lot of ball and did what he had to do. But I don't know if we're going to see that score continually go up at 77. 15 was my guy, Jack Wighton. Here's the thing, right? He's gone cold. And so, you know, Supercoach Folklore would probably tell you right now, guy's binned it. He's not doing that well. Let's get rid of him. But if we have a look at the teams that and this is what you should do with any player. This isn't just Jack Wighton specifically, but every and any team, is who are they up against? Can we see higher scoring potentially in the next 2 weeks before we just flog him off? The answer is yes in this case. So, played against the Panthers, didn't score the lowest he has in a long time for this season, in fact for quite a few years. He's up against the Warriors and up against the Bulldogs. Now, Warriors looked in shambles against Melbourne with a couple of key injuries during the game. Jack Wighton, if he is going to have a good game, it's probably going to be against the Warriors, following up a week against the Dogs. So for me, he is a hold. Now, I know it's very easy just to give him the flick, but I don't want to burn trades and then get burnt the following week just because he ends up scoring like a 60-70 because he came back and had a great game. He is a pod for us. He's 10% owned, so anything below 15, in my opinion, becomes a pod. Alternatively, there are other trades I could have made. I could have taken him to Jackson Hastings, who seems to have got 96 touches last week, which is like 30 more than any other half or 5'8" in the game. If you're looking at stats last week, so he's heavily involved. Tigers did win 2 weeks in a row. Probably contributed to it a little bit. It's not a bad trade, bringing in Jackson Hastings, but I think it's a bit sideways. Save a little bit of money, but very sideways given the fact that we know what the draw is going to be for the next 2 weeks. We'll see how that plays out. Otherwise, I wasn't really that fussed on making trades. I do have two major concerns. Curran, Joshy, absolute gun, killing it. Injured, knee, we don't know how long. He's not named, and the injury ward hasn't given us any further information. The unfortunate thing is, we won't know any further updates for a while. So do I hold him in there? We'll have to see how that plays out. And Jack Bird, they don't play till Sunday. They're the last game. Could I sell him? If he's injured, 100%. He was going to get scans. He was named the following team list Tuesday, which is Tuesday, that just passed. We don't really know what's happening there. He could be a trade-off. It's kind of a wild one right now. But if I was to make trades at the moment, I'm looking at Swali, because he's 260k, 250k, or whatever. He looks to have held that spot in the Roosters lineup, at least for now, and he has the potential to score well. That's an easy trade out from Jack Bird that I can make. Additionally, one thing I'm also looking for is who's playing in round 13. We need to start preparing our team for the bye round. We need to capitalize on the fact that there will be a lot of coaches out there that will have a lot of origin stars that just won't play, won't have any game time. So at the moment, these are the 8 teams that we're looking for. Swali does fit into that Roosters profile. The other one I was looking at was Jason Tomalolo, who seems to be scoring 50 points base stats each week, given the fact that he's now playing lock. He's playing above, 55 minutes, 60 minutes plus, which is great. He's a running gun machine. I think the fact that he's out of the front row rotation, which is like prop, whatever else, we're seeing him being utilized a lot better. He has upside on his base stats of scoring tries or setting up tries or getting offloads, tackle bust. So he has higher scorer ceiling. I'm looking at him because the Cowboys also play round 13, and that would kind of help me. That's an idea. If Josh Curran is injured, or if I want to trade out one of these other players. Now, other easy trades I could make is Tago. The problem I have, and if you look at my round 13 buys, and we'll go back to the full screen now, which might be a bit minimized, I don't have a lot of players playing around 13. So it's probably worth, even though Tago might drop 20, 30, 40, 50 grand, it's probably worth holding Tago, getting him through round 13, losing a little bit of money, scoring a couple of more points, because I just don't want to be trading out any of my players that are playing. I'm already down to this list. Schiller probably won't play. Strongly doubt he'll get a shot at the team. He's not even named on the extended bench at the moment. Nathan Cleary will have Origin. So we're already... Fifita, Origin. So we're already down to... Josh Curran might even get picked for Origin. Bird is the word, apparently. So we're already down to... If we take for the guys that we know are going to play 100%. Max King, 1, 2, 3... 4. I don't think Jack Wighton would pick for Origin this year. Sorry, wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We only have 7 players. And that's even if Koula gets played. Now, he should, because you'd assume the Tabuai-Fidow brothers would play, and that would free up that spot, depending upon what that rotation is. We never know with Trent Barrett. It's always a bit of a merry-go-round. But we need to start thinking of trades aimed at filling in that round 13 spot, just so we have a little bit more coverage. We can get a couple of more points, an extra 50 points on the rest of the competition by doing that now. So I've already put my thinking cap on. I hope you guys are already starting to do that yourselves. I can't tell you what I'm going to trade this week. I've already given you ideas, probably Bird and Curran, depending upon injuries. We'll see what happens. But as for the players that people are bringing in, we'll maximize the screen again. Talatau, totally understand why people are doing that. Swally, no-brainer. Cleary, obviously. Tass, I think people are more so just cashing in for the fact that Tass is there. Will he hold the spot? Possibly. Corey Pakes, I don't agree with this trade. Because he's on the interchange. Yeah, he had a good game. He scored really well. Over 50 last week. But was that a one-off? Probably. Papa Lee, people are probably just trying to bolstering up their second row, front row stacks. Great option. Mutton, I think is a good option, depending on what you're trying to go for there. He didn't score that well on Supercoach. But there's a lot of potential. Munster's an interesting one because, yeah, I thought if you would have gone with Munster, you would have already had him. I guess that kind of depends what people are trading out. People are bringing in Xavier Coates. Sorry, not Corey Oates. Xavier Coates. Yeah, I don't know about that one. He hasn't... Yeah, I mean, it's the Melbourne Storm. He's going to do well than what he did in the prior season because of that very reason. More setup potential, more runs, whatever. But, yeah, Pap. These all trades are just people following the big scores at the moment. If we look at the trade outs, this is probably the most interesting point for this week. So we're bringing out Schneider. People obviously talking about the whole Cleary thing. We spoke about that last week. Will Cleary dominate the points enough to outscore Schneider? His break even, and he did. Cleary got 50. Schneider got 20. So really illustrated or brought home the point that, yeah, you probably should have traded him 1 week earlier. Chrissy Randall. People trading him out. He's peaked. Probably has like that couple of thousand more to go up. But I'm not rushing that. I can understand Josh Curran trading him out. Tago's an interesting trade. I get it. I understand why people are doing it. I totally understand why people are doing it. But I need him for round 13. I mean, it's a long way away. But he's got the spot. We know he's going to hold it. He's not a threat about being kicked out. Bo Firma, we traded out last week, which seemed to be the right option given he went down by 24k. Gags, he's out for some time with the cheekbone. He should be alright for Origin if he comes back at 12 and then plays for 13. Excuse me. Joshy King. Oh, man, I don't know. I don't agree. Yeah, I don't know about that one. Mitch Moses, look. I understand where people are coming from with that trade. Because they're trying to bring in Cleary. But if you can have both, like I do, amazing. Dave Fifita, people aren't convinced. He still made 22 grand. That's the funny thing. It only takes 1 week of good scoring from Dave Fifita and people are back on him again. And Euan Aitken. That's also another hugely interesting trade. I just want to double check something. Was there something I missed in the team list Tuesday that he's been moved and to the centers and people are a bit suspicious about his scoring? No, as I thought when I reviewed it the other day, he's still, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's an interesting trade. I think people are burning a lot of sideways trades. Or maybe they're going Aitken to Sawali and then bringing in one of the highest scorers in another position. It's probably it. I don't know if I will be doing that myself, but yeah, hopefully you can take a little bit away from this video. I guess the big thing, again, going back to point number 1, was Talatau. I'm not going to bring him in. Best luck for you guys that do. Obviously, he's going to make money next week. He can't not make money. But we'll see how he goes for the next 3 to 4 weeks. That will be the real telltale sign. So this has been the NRL Fantasy Fanatic doing the NRL Supercoach. Hope you all have a good week. Take it easy. Let me know what your trades are. Give the video a thumbs up and subscribe. And I'll see you next week. Whoosh.